weeks ago, one of my viewers that I've been corresponding with mentioned that she was coming to Georgia, to a little town about an hour and a half away from me, for a Canicross event. And I was like, Tony, what? Never heard of this. So I looked at their website, and I was like, yeah, I have got to go to this event and learn more about this, because this is a really cool thing to do with Dobermans, whether it's just on your own for fun or if you want to be competitive about it. So come along with me and let's learn about this cool sport. I reached out to Mackenzie Sok, the North Georgia ambassador for North American Canicross. Mackenzie was kind enough to meet up with me to talk about the organization, the various equipment, how to fit a dog and introduce it to the sport, and give me a little taste of what it was all about.
So it started as it's a summer sled dog sport. So it started with sled dogs as it warms up and it becomes too warm to actually run a sled dog.
Okay.
On a sled with all the pulling weight.
Yeah.
They switched to and there's no snow, so they switched to things with wheels and things with feet. So it's a dog powered sport, and you want it's not just running with a dog. You want the dog to actually pull you. You should be faster with the dog. Okay. It should cut your mile times because the dog is propelling you forward.
Okay.
And you teach them their lefts and rights, just like a sled dog. Okay. G's and ha's, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
But it started as a way to keep sled dogs conditioned when it was not snowy or was too warm to run with a sled.
And I imagine, too, the dogs that are very good at winter sled pulling, they got a high energy drive, so you'd have to have a way to burn that off. And so I imagine this gives them a great opportunity to do that as well.
Yeah.
And keep yourself in shape as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a fun team sport. So you have to do some work with your dog. You have to do some work with yourself because it requires both of you to do your part.
Tell me about the national organization.
So North American Canicross is actually based out of Atlanta.
Oh.
The ladies who started in 2019 as a way to promote the sport of the United States, because it was something you see a lot in Europe. There's a large race circuit in Europe. There's a lot with Canicross in Europe, but not a lot here, because even the places where there's sled dog sports, people really focus on the sledding part, and Canicross is just what you do when you can't sled a lot of times. And then they run a website and a Facebook group that's really active if people are interested. The North American Canicross Fan Club.
Yeah.
There's two, but the North American Canicross Fan Club Facebook group is really active with people just checking in with questions, like harness questions, fit questions, trail questions, just talking about what they're doing, just being excited about the sport together.
So what is the website address?
The website is nacanicross.com.
And so what is the name of the Facebook page?
The American Canicross Fan Club.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And through that group, they have they run races. They do some virtual events every year. They have a titling program. So they have a lot of different ways to get involved at any level. Like the titling program, you can walk it, you can run it, you can hike it. So like speed or abilities doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you talked about virtual. I do remember when I was looking at the event that's coming up here in a couple of weeks, there was also a virtual run. Explain how that works.
So their race coming up March 3rd, the race around Red Top is here at Red Top Mountain State Park. And people will run it in live, in real life. But the virtual event, you can sign up, register for the race, and then you run your own 5K on your own trail, and you turn your time in virtually through their website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just clock it yourself on your own watch?
Yeah, you just clock it yourself and turn it in.
Okay. And what's the advantage of being able to do something like that?
The virtual event? You can do it anywhere.
Okay.
Because that's the big thing is there's not a lot of Canicross events. Benefit of the virtual race is that you can do it anywhere, even if you can't get here.
Yeah.
You can do it anywhere. And a lot of people are looking for, races and things to be involved with their dogs. Yeah. And it's just hard to find real in-person races still.
Yeah.
So
do they have to do it that day?
I think you've got I think it was a 2-week period window where you could enter it.
You mentioned about titling that you can earn. And what is the titling based on?
So they've got 2 different programs. One is Lifetime Achieved Miles, and it's just clocking miles with your dog. Any speed, anywhere you want. The only conditions are it has to be Canicross style, so your dog needs to pull. It needs to be on trail. So Canicross is on trail. It's not on pavement.
Okay.
Because it's a different kind of running.
Yeah.
So those are the only conditions. You can do it at any speed, anywhere you want. You can do it a mile at a time. You could do it 10 miles at a time. It's just lifetime achieved miles with your dog.
Okay.
And then there are race dog titles where you have to complete in-person races at different levels with your dog. So you have to accumulate a certain amount of lifetime miles, and you have to accumulate a certain amount of actual race finishes.
I noticed you brought some medallions here.
Oh yeah, these are they have a
Hold some, and you can hold some.
how does it say just
These are beautiful.
so that's their finisher's medallion for the race around Red Top. And then all the lifetime achieved miles, there's one at 50, 100, 250, 500, and 1,000. You get it for every title. It's a coin.
Wow. Yeah, these are lovely.
And then some of these are their different challenges. Like this one is, they do a fall challenge every year. So it's not just miles. It'll be try 3 different trails, or, it'll be different activities to accumulate for a challenge. They usually do one in the fall.
And that one was just for participating in the race.
Yeah, that's just for finishing.
Wow. That's so lovely.
Yeah, if you can just cross the line, yeah.
Right. That's awesome. Well, thank you for bringing those. Let's talk about the equipment. And you just don't want to throw any just average harness on your dog.
Right. Because the objective is for the dog to pull. So it needs to be something that's not going to affect their physiology as they pull.
Okay, won't restrict the front movement.
Yeah. So you want it to have a wide front. And then this point right here, so this will go around their head.
Yeah.
And this point right here is where most of the pull will be centered.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that this right here is on their sternum, on the bone here.
Yeah.
And then different harnesses will distribute the weight different ways down their back. But that's the most important part of the fit, is you want to make sure that the neck and this part fit.
Okay.
So you don't want it to be too small because it'll be on their neck.
Sure.
But you also don't want it to be too big because it'll ride up as soon as they start to pull and be on their neck. And most dogs, if they're pulling, you'll hear it. It'll restrict their breathing, and you'll hear them gasping. Like they shouldn't sound like they're on their... Yeah, they shouldn't sound like they're on their collar pulling like a dog.
Yeah. And you don't want any of this to obviously be pinching on muscles that are going to hurt the dog, or rub on any kind of foam.
Yeah, it should move up over their shoulder and leave their shoulder completely unrestricted.
Correct.
And then this one doesn't attach it doesn't have very much on the back at all, but you want to make sure, like the back section, some of them, as they come down their back, you just want to make sure it ends at their rib cage, so it's not on their soft flesh.
Okay.
After the rib cage finishes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. There's a lot of different styles and a lot of different brands, a lot of different kinds of harnesses that people use.
Okay.
But
so I mean, I imagine some of it is just dog preference.
Yeah.
Some of it might be as far as like Dobermans, especially, have that really deep chest. So they might need a very special harness rather than some others that some manufacturers make.
Yeah.
And what kind of manufacturers or suppliers do you recommend?
So you definitely want to go with an actual mushing supplier. Okay. There's a lot of stuff you can do on Amazon. I've never heard anybody have any great luck with it.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely want to get something from a reputable supplier. And you want to probably time your orders well. If it's a person that's, if it's during mushing season, during the winter, it can sometimes take a while to get something constructed and made. Sure. If you're getting a custom harness. Okay. But some like these, like this is a drag rattan. It's Czechoslovakian. I got it from a supplier in Texas.
Okay.
Which is odd. You wouldn't think of Flushing, Texas. But there's a big Canicross community there.
Okay.
Drag rattan, I've really liked this one. You see it's got some padding here. Mm-hmm. So on that pull point, it's got some padding. This one's a 0 DC that I got from a supplier in New England. And it's really light. Like I like this one. It's really soft and really light.
Yeah.
So I don't think my dog even realized
it's like a parachute material.
Mm-hmm. This one is a CTC, and they're a manufacturer here. They make them, so you have to order in advance because they usually make them for you. This was a custom size. I had to get my Rhodesian for that deep chest.
Yeah, and this is padded the entire.
Yeah, it's very padded.
Yeah, that's very nice.
It's waterproof too. So we use this one a lot in the summer. So this one, and a lot of makers, so these two, the Drag Ratten and the Zero DC, you'll see a lot of people racing those.
Okay.
The CTC, you'll see a lot of people just kind of less driven dogs will use these because you'll see it's a short harness. It doesn't come down the back at all. So it stops at the rib cage. And most hard pulling dogs, that's not going to be the most comfortable design for them, this short harness.
Okay.
I just connected that upside down. But probably the most popular one that people run with is a nonstop free motion.
Okay.
I don't, but I think that's probably the most popular one. Okay. It's probably also the most expensive one. But people love it.
Yeah.
Especially for Dobermans. These racing harnesses are made for like pointers and gracers that have that deep chest.
Okay.
So I think the racing harnesses probably like a Drag Ratten or a Zero DC or the Free Motion are going to fit that deep chest better.
Okay.
Because the dogs that are racing are pointers or pointer crosses with a deep chest, Greysters or Eurohounds.
Okay.
Yeah. The traditional X backs that you see, like sled dogs wear that have the X's across their back.
Yeah.
A lot of people like those, and you can get them custom made, and you probably would have to for Doberman.
Okay.
But Huskies have a different shape than a deep-chested slender dog does.
Yeah. And I noticed on all of these harnesses where your coupling to the dog is on the back end of the harness rather than normally it's up here or on the chest, and that's so that they will actually pull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you want that to be in the back. And when you fit a dog, like you want to put them in and then put tension on the harness. It won't fit right if they're not pulling in it.
Okay.
The fit will be strange and it will not work.
Yeah.
So you want to fit them and then pull back on it to make sure that it looks right, it sits right, it's in the right place here. Because it won't fit right until they pull.
Okay. And we're going to fit one of my Dobermans here in just a minute. And let's talk about the human equipment that you need here.
So you want to have a belt.
Oh, that's complicated.
Yes. But this is probably the most popular one.
Okay.
Nonstop Dog Wear. They make the free motion harness that most people like for their dogs. This is probably the most popular belt. When you wear it, you will not feel it. It looks complicated, but this part is going to go around the meat of your rear and your hips.
Okay.
So you don't want...
It's not heading on the waist.
No, because you want your dog to pull, and you don't want them to pull on your kidneys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a really good driven dog is going to pull and lunge and jump, and that's a lot of force around the soft part of your body.
Yeah.
So you want it to fit around the back of your rear and around your hips. It's going to fit low here.
Well, that makes sense because you're then kind of like an anchor almost.
Mm-hmm. So as they're pulling, you want all that pull force there.
Okay.
And when you see people at the start line getting started, you see their dogs crashing into the end of that line because they get really excited about it. Having it right here allows you to just be a statue and stand.
Okay.
Because your balance and everything is right here.
Yeah.
So they're not crashing into your kidneys or pulling you over.
Okay. Can we see this?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to put it on or you want me to?
Oh, yeah, sure.
However you want it. It's highly adjustable.
Okay.
Nonstop makes two sizes. They make a small, medium, and a medium large. This is a medium large, which works for me. It's probably going to be a little large for you, but it's super adjustable.
Okay.
So I would encourage people, check the measurements. A lot of people are like, I can't find one big enough, but they're super adjustable. So you are going to, your legs are going to go through here.
Okay.
It's probably the easiest way to hold it. It's like this, and you want to put your feet.
So that back strap is going on the back side of me.
Okay. Yep.
Oh.
There you go. And then the top strap is going to come up around your waist. Yep. It takes a little jiggle to get in.
Yeah.
You see, that's a medium large. There's a lot of room in there, and it will get
Yeah, so I would just tighten that up.
You can tighten it all the way down.
Maybe that side.
No.
Oh.
That side.
You want it to be fairly tight, because as soon as they start pulling, it's gonna pull it out away from you.
Okay.
So if it feels a little bit tight, it's probably just right.
Okay.
And then you have these straps on the back. Is it okay if I touch those?
Absolutely.
All right. So you want it to, it just suits your height here.
So now I've got the top one, like they're just underneath my hip bumps. Is that about the right place?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that just keeps it from coming down, because when your dog starts pulling, everything will, like ideally, there's going to be a lot of force on it. So when your dog starts pulling, that strap right there holds it, like your hips kind of hold that in place.
Yeah.
And you can see it's got leg straps that you just step through.
Right.
And then this adjusts also. I'll let you do that if you want that to be shorter. The leg straps hold it in place. So as your dog is pulling, the belt won't move. And that's for sure the most popular belt. People who run love that one. People will try other things, or they'll try something less expensive. And everyone ends up, in the end, if you spend a lot of time doing Canicross, that's the one.
Okay.
It's not very heavy.
No, not at all.
It's mostly mesh, but it's super strong. My Rhodesian has fully tested its strength. There's usually like 100 deer out here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it dries really quick. So if you're running through water, because Canicross is dirty a lot of the time. So water or obstacle courses or mud or dirt or sweat, it just dries right off and you rinse it off. It's good.
And what else did you bring for us?
This is a different style of belt.
Okay.
So you feel that one. It's super padded.
Yeah.
It's a CTC belt, like the short harness.
Okay.
And it's a belt without leg straps. Mm-hmm. Some people prefer that. If you have a strong pulling dog, you're probably going to want leg straps. Okay. But this one, same idea. It sits around your hips.
Yep.
And you tighten it down, just crank it down around your hips so it stays in place. Even without the leg straps, it stays pretty well in place. And some people do like this one because it's really thick and padded. So if you have a dog that's a lunger, or you've got, you just don't have as much padding, you might want the padding on the belt if you don't have it on your rear.
Okay.
So it's really padded and comfortable. And they make these in several different sizes. CTC makes a lot of different sizes, and they'll custom make things for you also if you get them time to make it.
And then you have some, I remember reading about there's a special connection between yourself and the dog's harness.
You want a line with a bungee, and there's two different kinds. This is nonstop again. It's probably the most popular brand. It is bungee the whole way through, so the whole line stretches. They say it stretches to 8 feet.
Yeah.
I feel like my Rhodesian can stretch it to about 40. She doesn't use this one.
Yeah.
So there's good and bad. The full bungee, because the whole line stretches. If your dog is a really driven, hard charging dog, that absorbs a lot of the force between their lunge and your body.
Gotcha.
Because they get excited, and it's the opposite of like obedience training or rally training. You know, you want your dog to be hyped and excited for what they're doing. That translates into lunges and barking and hitting the end of that line. And all of that is not bad in Canicross.
Yeah. Everywhere else we're like, stop it.
And a really well-trained dog, that's the challenge when you start Canicross.
Yeah. Is
to take that really well-trained dog and teach them it's okay.
Yeah.
To pull into the harness. That's usually the first thing people teach when they have a really well-trained dog.
Yeah.
I have a rescue who is not. She just naturally was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But my Rhodesian, we had to teach her that pulling is what we wanted. And that was the first step.
And the dogs, I would think, just like whenever I take a dog that's never been shown before and I teach it to show, it knows that when it's on this collar and this lead, this is okay.
Yes.
And I imagine the same thing. The dogs know that when they're in this harness, it's okay to pull.
Yes.
But otherwise, you need to kind of hang out with mom, not pull the leash so much.
Yeah, we'll have a giant meetup. Dogs will run, they'll scream, they'll lunge, they'll be excited. Some of them will super hard charge through the whole, whatever the run is. And then you put them back on their collar and you walk them to brunch, and it's just a whole different dog. But they get that outlet, and some of them really need it. Some of them, I think every dog needs different kind of outlets, but it appeals to some dogs that just the I was going to say the wildness of it, but
There's something primal, I'm sure, that it's making a connection to. And then what's the other lead you brought?
so this one, the disadvantage of a full bungee is if you have a leash reactive dog, it can take a long time to reel them back in if you're passing people because the whole thing's stripped.
Yeah.
So this one is great for good sociable dogs that have good passes, which is something you practice. You won't be able to pass from behind or pass head on. And a dog that can do that with verbal commands, this works great. Okay. A dog that has more trouble with that, this line it's a static line.
Okay.
And it has just one section of bungee.
Okay.
So you can grab below that if you need to steer your dog. And the bungee is what really matters with a Canicross line. If you have a fully static line and your dog hits the end of that line, it's a lot of force on your body.
Absolutely.
So the bungee absorbs some of that.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. And I think I remember seeing somewhere too that sometimes they have events or people just out running on their own that you can actually have more than one dog.
Yes. It completely depends on your bravery and your dog's. I run 2 hounds. They never run together.
Yeah.
Because it just is not, we're not ready.
It wouldn't be pretty.
No, it's just not. But a lot of people do. And it's the same process if you've got 2 dogs. They both need to learn their directions. They both need to learn their commands. And you would probably, if you have 2 dogs, this is the other piece of equipment you'd need, is a neckline. So they'd have a harness and they both have a collar.
Oh, okay.
And then you hook their collars together so that you can't clothesline the whole trail. So they have to stay this close together.
Okay.
And sometimes that takes a lot of training for dogs too. One of the ladies that started North American Canicross runs golden retrievers. And, golden retrievers, everything's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that she even has to use a neckline with her dogs. But some of them you have to train them to be comfortable with that. And some of them you don't. Some people train a second dog with a neckline. If you've got a good, well-trained dog and you're starting a puppy, you start them with a neckline so the older dog can teach them.
Yeah, and I imagine just walking, you just the way you train them with a neckline on there.
And for anyone, like starting Canicross, walking is a super valid way to start. If you're not a runner, you don't have to be a runner. You can walk, you can hike. If your dog's not a runner, you probably don't want to start with 3-mile 1. You want to start with a walk because the beginning skills, pulling into the harness and turning left and right, you don't need speed to do those.
Sure.
You don't ever need speed to do those. So people can Canicross at any kind of speed that they want to.
Is there, is a Canicross, as far as like hiking, is that considered a different sport or just a different offshoot of?
It's a really fine line. Some people will call it Cana hike.
Okay.
But some people's run speed is slower than some people's hike speed. So
yeah,
it's. I think it depends on your intention as much as anything else. If you intend to go out for a hike, it might be a Cana hike. If you're a slow runner, it might look the same, but you call it Canicross.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I brought my girl Valen with me today. Would you mind showing us how we would measure her and shoot her up with a harness?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is a CTC harness. It was custom made for my Rhodesian. My Rhodesian, the neck fit is the most important, and my Rhodesian's a deep-chested, lean dog like this one. So the extra large fit her neck, but it was in her armpit. So we'll see with your dog how it looks, because down the side matters also for their comfort. The neck is the most important thing, but over time, if it's all up in their armpit, it will not feel good.
I can imagine it causes a lot of irritation.
Yeah. So is she okay if I put this on?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, sweet girl. Let's see. This is going to be my best bet for a fit, I think. But even if it's not a great fit, we can talk about this then.
Right.
Yeah. So it has strap that comes up on both sides. Let's see. So the way it looks on her side here, you see you've got some space, so it's not in her armpit because you don't want it in here while she's running, so it'll chafe. So that's pretty good there. And you see I pulled it back to make sure. Her pulling point right here is fitting right there on her sternum.
like the point of her sternum right here. I can feel that bone. And that's exactly where that Y is touching.
Let me pull back on it and see if it stays in that position.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's not pulling up on her neck.
So that's a decent fit for her.
Okay.
Especially if you want to take her out today, that's a nice, decent fit for her.
Okay. And as far as like when people are ordering online, what are the normal places that people would measure?
So it completely depends on the harness. And the harness makers, everyone that I've ever worked with has a YouTube video that explains what to measure and where.
Perfect. Okay.
Because each harness, because of the way it fits, they'll focus on different things. Usually you're going to want this neck measurement here because that's the most important part. So almost all of them talk about where to measure the neck. It's not like where the collar's going to sit, but a little bit further down.
Okay.
So there's a wide part of their neck. And some of the harnesses need a back measure. Some of them, it just doesn't matter because of the way it fits. But every harness, 0DC, drag riding, free motion, they all have a YouTube video that explains what to measure and where. And it is different for each one. So you want to look at whichever harness you want to look at and then use their video.
Perfect. We talked about that's the train a green dog.
Okay.
What the kind of things that she would need to learn and see what we can accomplish today.
So the first thing that you want to teach them is that pulling is what's good. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. What does your dog like? Does she like treats,
all three, yes.
So whatever works for her, like when you're teaching a dog to pull, you can usually
stop petting me.
Yes, ma'am. So like if it was my dog, when we started working, I just attached him to the bumper of the car in my driveway and then got in front of him. And just one of them responds to praise. She just wants to be loved. So I would just call her up and praise her and love her. And one of them, my Rhodesia, needs cheese to do stuff.
I can be bought with cheese too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just worked on, as they pulled, they got whatever that reward was.
Okay.
And eventually you want to turn that into a command, just like you switch from, teaching anything to luring them to do food. You want to switch to a verbal cue. And people usually use the line out. Okay. And line out means go to the end of that line, put some tension on it, but don't move. And it's kind of all three parts are important.
Yeah.
Because you want to, especially if you've got more than one dog and you're going to hook them up, you need them to move out and put some tension on the line so that everyone can get in the right place.
Okay.
But don't move. Like just put that tension there.
Yeah.
And don't move.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's probably the first most important thing. Okay.
And then how would people teach like left and right?
Left and right. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can do it at home. Your girl's tall and I'm not. But my little hound, we taught, like I would have her come through my legs. And she would stop right here and throw a treat to the right. Let's say right.
Oh, from behind she'd come.
Yeah, so she'd be right here and I would cue her right. Throw a treat, so she'd go the right direction. And then once they've got that, then left. And then as you're on the trails, make sure you're using the cues so they associate it with, it's not just she's in the living room that way.
Yeah.
But every time we turn right, she's going to say right, and we're going to go that direction.
Okay.
So a lot of it is just, like you can teach them that cue in your kitchen, but then taking it to the trail and just making sure they're making that association in every time we go this direction, she's going to say right. Okay. Yeah, and Dobermans are such great focused dogs that I don't think it would take anything at all. Like a hound is super distracted, so you're going to do a lot of work to get that right direction.
Yeah.
It has to be way more valuable than whichever direction the squirrel is. But you look like you're
and I can imagine that would be the torture point for Dobermans on the trail is, squirrel!
But the nonstop comes with a nice secure carabiner. And then that's going to hook to your belt. And you've got another carabiner there.
Nothing. There we go.
That's it.
Yep.
Got it. All right. I'm going to get out a dog too.
Okay. While Mackenzie got her dog harnessed up and ready, I played around, encouraging Valen to pull on the harness.
It does.
And who is this?
This is Emma. She is a 6-year-old coonhound pointer mix. Yeah.
And you are well fit, I can tell. You do this a lot.
Her drive is super high.
Yeah.
For everything running. If she can run, she's happy. She's much happier running with a bike than with a foot because she can go as fast as she wants. So this is the other style of harness. I mean, absolutely. So your dog has on a short harness, which a lot of people prefer. This is a longer harness. And probably I should shorten that line because you want the pull to be right here at the base of their tail.
Okay.
And a lot of the racing harnesses, the free motion is going to be a long one like this. A lot of dogs that have high drive or high pull, this is more comfortable for them to pull in. Sometimes dogs with a really hard charging pull, a short harness is going to ride up no matter what. So these long harnesses, people who race usually use a longer harness. And it just... Same thing. You want to, stops right there at her ribs. The pull is right here on her breastbone.
Yeah, and looking at the biomechanics, I can tell like this one is pulling more across this top piece, and this is pulling more on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Right, we're around a little end.
So let's see what happens here. Oh, Mackenzie, I'm out of breath. But I wanted to thank you so much. It's been such a joy for me, and I know it's been more so for Balin.
We have so much fun. And if your people are interested on North American Canicross fan page, there are ambassadors all over the country, and their event will be 10 to the top.
Okay.
And we have casual meetups all the time just to train.
To introduce people to the sport.
Yeah, I feel like this coonhound needs an on-by training. But just to train or work together or just to have a community to run with.
Yeah. And I can see where that, would be very, very beneficial.
Yes.
To just build, more bonds.
Well, it's always easier to teach a dog what to do when they see other dogs doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. Emma was great for that today. But I really appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to coming and seeing your cool event there in a couple of weeks. And I'm assuming I'll see you.
Yes. And I'm going to be doing what I'm in a race for a DJ. Yeah. Oh, not super driven, but
yeah,
she is fun. So.
Emma, thank you for your help today. A few weeks later, the date for the Canicross event had finally arrived. I made the drive to Red Top Mountain, a 1,700-acre state park nestled along Lake Allatoona. The 5K course would lead the competitors through shaded trails with occasional views of the lake. I got to the site a little early to scope things out. There was a wide representation of various breeds and sizes, and even a few breeds that I'd never expected to see at an activity like this. There were 2 food trucks on hand as well as various vendors. At the North American Canicross booth, they didn't have harnesses for sale, but they did have various types of harnesses available to try on and see what worked and fit best for your dog, as well as merch like stickers and t-shirts. Complimentary liquid refreshment was on hand for both humans and dogs. I finally got to meet viewer Katrina and her Doberman Tiff as they were checking in at the registration table. After verifying their pre-entry, they were given their running bib, 2 swag bags, and a race t-shirt. The swag bags were full of useful products supplied by the race sponsors. While Katrina and Tiff made their final preparations, I headed over to listen to the briefing. And then all the dog teams headed down through the woods to the starting location. Along the way, I caught back up with Team Tiff and waited with them in line as everyone made their way up to the start line. For safety and ease of timing, dogs are started every 30 seconds. Dogs that have come with running partners or families can start together. Otherwise, each dog team leaves individually like Katrina and Tiff did. Behind them came one of the junior runners of the day. And here comes Mackenzie Sok, who we met earlier in the video, this time with her Rhodesian Ridgeback. While I waited for Katrina and Tiff on the flip side of the course, I got to talk to 2 of the event volunteers. They explained that each team's time was captured by the gray mats across the finish line, picking up a chip which is embedded on the back side of the number bib. Katrina keeps Tiff mentally and physically fulfilled through participating in confirmation, fast cat, fit dog, trick dog, competitive obedience, and as even training and man trailing. While practicing for a few weeks, this was their first go at a Canicross competition. As each participant re-entered the staging area, they were met by a representative of the local Boy Scout troop and presented with the official race coin for their participation. While the remaining participants finished their runs, the teams had an opportunity to take their own photos to commemorate the occasion with these fun props. Then awards were presented to recognize categories like best males and females, 2 dog teams, seniors, and juniors. The atmosphere at the event was relaxed and the participants welcoming and encouraging. Even if you don't care to attend actual events, you and your Doberman can still enjoy the fresh air and exercise from exploring your own trails, Canicross style. For great Canicross articles, videos, and podcasts, check out these resources. And for more information on Canicross rules, finding an ambassador in your area, or events like meetups and races, go to nacanicross.com. Take a bow. Good job.